When I look at myself, so pictures of myself from years ago, I'm actually shocked that I was that large. What kind of sucks is that all my pictures with my daughter, until she was like 13 years old, I was overweight. But I look at the pictures anyways, right? All of them. I like to scroll back and just like see like all the things we did because those are the pictures that I have. But the thing that I want to point out that's so weird is that when I remember our fun experiences, I'm not fat in my mind, right? And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about how the stuff we walk around with in our head doesn't always match like what our reality would tell us. For some of us, we might have started our new way of eating because we wanted to do a sport. And so we had a fitness reason in mind. And if that was your story, that's terrific. For myself, for example, it was a pain issue, right? I started my weight loss and healthy eating journey because I had such huge pain in my hip that I couldn't walk properly. Now, I had had pain for years in my back, in my knees, in my elbow, in my neck. My neck issues pushed me to go to see a chiropractor and get that whole process started. So, like, I had a lot of things. So I had a lot of medical things. And the weight wasn't the reason. But for a lot of people, the weight is the reason, right? Like, you realize that I could be healthier. And if I could be healthier, why wouldn't I want to do it? And the thing is, I've lost weight before. I lost it, put it back on, lost it, put it back on, right? I'm wondering if that's ever happened to you. Like, have you figured out something, whether it was diet, exercise, and you did it and you lost weight, but then somehow the weight ends up back on your body? And I want to know why you think that happened. You can put it in the chat. Like, what do you think? Why do you think that happened? Because I actually have my own theory that I'm going to share with you. But I'm curious to know if any of you have ever thought about why is that what happens to all of us? Now, my theory is that, you know how just after you have a baby, you swear on a stack that you're never going to do that again. And then for many women, a few months, even years, months, whatever later, they're pregnant again on purpose. They meant it. They did that, you know? It's like, yeah, we think we would never do it again, but we do it again. We're quick to put down bad memories, right? I was overweight and I was in pain and I was on a path to a bunch of medical problems in my family. Diabetes, first of all, was a thing, but so was heart issues, or is, I can't even say was. Diabetes, heart issues, like arthritis, like so many medical things are in my family. And that's the road that I was on. And even though in this picture, what you're seeing is me out on a trip taking beautiful photographs. So this is one that Pat took of me, and I took some too, but I wanted to show a picture of like, where was I at that point in my life? They're beautiful pictures that we took, and we had fun doing it. And the fact that I figured it out, so like I'm sitting here in front of you and I'm weighing less. So the fact that I figured it out doesn't mean that it didn't happen, right? I was living my life at that weight for like years. And I didn't like it, by the way. So just like putting that as something to think about, I didn't like it. So we try to deny our past. We don't admit that we were ever poor. We don't admit that our homes were difficult to grow up in. And many of us, if you would meet us at our like lighter weight, wouldn't admit willingly that we were overweight, right? We lie about our education. Like, there's a lot of things that we just don't want to talk about from our history. And we even try to deny our today, our present, right? Like we lie about how much money we make. We lie about our relationships and how they're going, how many people have I spoken to? They're like telling me about their great lives and their husbands and wives and how amazing it is. And then months later, they're divorced. We lie about things that are happening today. Like, for example, what we are eating, right? We present one way to the world, but in the background, we're doing other things. And here's the problem, Wellness Warrior. You actually know the truth. What happens when I know the truth about something, but I'm denying it to the world and maybe even to myself? And I'm trying to act like what's happening isn't what's happening. Well, that creates cognitive dissonance. And that's a fancy way of saying you end up feeling conflicted, guilty, uncomfortable, and maybe even like an imposter, a fake, because the life that you claim to be living, the life that you're putting out in front of, and even the life in your head that you want to, so you're saying to yourself you're living, isn't matching your reality. And that causes us to make actual mistakes. So it doesn't start off a mistake, but it can become one. And this is where I want to point out that sometimes we end up in situations, right? Like we just say to ourselves, like, this one time I'm going to do this thing. So I'm going to eat. I'm just going to have this one set of nuts. My story. It's like, I'm not going to buy them anymore. It's just like, this one last time because insert reason. I'm having a hard day. Or I did really good at something, or whatever the reason is. Knowing that I had an issue with controlling the amount of nuts that I eat, this one time is never this one time, right? First of all, can you buy one serving? So no, I'm buying 3, 4, 5 servings. How long will that last? And then I'm going to be good tomorrow. Well, no, I'm not going to be good tomorrow. I have nuts, right? If they don't get finished today, they're going to get finished tomorrow, right? So maybe the story that you're struggling with is that you stop tracking, right? It's like I'm out in public. I'm eating at a party or a restaurant, or I'm eating at a scenario where it's like, am I going to pull out my food calculator and start doing the thing? You stop weighing yourself. That's a little lie to me, right? That I can get through this without checking on me and making sure that everything's going in the right direction. By leaving room for errors, Wellness Warrior, because I don't want to acknowledge my current weight, my current health situation, my current problem, by leaving room for errors, we end up making those errors. And the hard part is that we don't end up confronting it right away because we're trying to act like everything's okay. My life is great. And maybe your life is good, and maybe you're on a great path, and maybe things would be changing, except for the fact that now I'm trying to look like if this problem isn't a problem. Now, there's a second issue that I want to point out. Because if I'm actually in denial about my past, so now I'm talking about my history, I'm not going to have the benefit of my experience, right? I lived things. And if I don't let myself look at where I came from, I don't get to learn from and improve on and iterate and continue to grow. And right. So I parented the way that I parented and continue to parent, although my kid's 18, so I'm more like consulting now, but I do it the way that I do it because I remember my childhood, right? I remember the things I liked about what my parents did, and I remember the things I didn't like. And that informs what I chose to do with my child and with our family. I always am truthful today because I remember what it felt like to be lied to. Didn't like that at all. And as a matter of fact, I remember also what it was like when I was a little kid to get caught in a lie. Didn't like that either. So those two pieces of information inform the fact that I'm truthful today. When, to my knowledge, I say everything in my knowledge truthfully, right? It's not the same thing as making a mistake, but I'm always truthful in my answer. And guess what, Wellness Warrior? I eat the way I eat because I remember what it was like to be fat, to be tired and to be in pain all the time, because I was in pain all the time, right? Like, I don't talk about it much because it's not usually relevant, but the truth of the matter is I walked around every single day in some level of pain. And had I done some kinds of activities, my pain was higher. So if I pushed my body in any way, and this is all between the age of 23 and 46. That's 23 years of me walking around in pain. But yet, I've been stable in not only my weight, but in my good physical feeling. Like, I feel good for the last 5 years. Easily. And I eat huge meals. Right? I have lots of energy. And the only thing I do regularly is eat the food that I love that falls in line with my keto lifestyle. That's what I do. I do it every single day. And, there are those people who say that keto is not sustainable. Now, I'm only 5 years in. It feels very sustainable to me, right? I don't dislike what I eat. I don't crave what I see other people eating. But again, why don't I crave what I see other people eating? Because I remember my history. I remember how I got here and why I chose to come here. And eating those foods that I see everybody else eat, when I eat them, cause pain, cause weight gain, although the pain is the reason that I do this. Those foods don't help me to feel good. And therefore, I don't end up caring if those other people get to eat those foods. Because for me, eating those foods wouldn't be a get, it would be a, oh no, I'm eating those foods again. Now, I got this comment. I want to share it with you because it's frustrating. Because these kind of comments make us question ourselves. Keto is not a long-term solution. Vegan, on the other hand, is. Fasting also is okay. But keto can be dangerous long-term. And I point out this comment because it, again, forgets where we came from, right? We have always eaten some form of meat. In the history of humans being on the planet, we've eaten meat. Science believes that this is why our brains have grown to the largeness and complexity that they've grown to, right? But I also want to point out that this comment, because it focuses on a lie about keto, right? The lie is that keto is zero carb. We eat carb, right? I call myself keto instead of carnivore because I eat carbohydrates. Although I don't eat many of them, I do. I eat avocado and olives and broccoli and cabbage and cauliflower. I eat veg. Now, I want to point something out because it frustrates me when I hear these things. When I was doing a standard diet where I was eating pizza and burgers and ice cream and crap, nobody was saying that what I was doing was not sustainable, even though I was eating mostly junk, right? And the things that I was eating that I would have called healthy, rice, pasta, potatoes, carrots. And by the way, back then, potatoes, carrots were my main veg. If I had broccoli or cauliflower, or that was if my mom cooked for me, right? So my main veg, potatoes, in the form of French fries. On this horse. So my first thing is that this lie that keto is zero carb, it is not. The other lie I want to point out is the lie that we overeat fat, right? That we overeat protein. But guess what? On the standard American, Canadian, insert your country there, I'm sure it's the same. Not only do we overeat fat and carbohydrate, which is the standard American diet, we undereat protein. On a keto diet, we do not overeat fat. The sheer act of taking the carbohydrates off your plate changes the proportion of fat, protein, and carbohydrate in your diet. So, for example, if I have green, which is a mix of yellow and blue, and I remove yellow, if I remove enough yellow off the plate, it's going to look just blue. If I leave a little bit of yellow, it will look like a very dark green, like bluey, but it's going to be more towards blue. So guess what? It's not because I took the carbohydrates off my plate that I have to eat more fat. There's a lot of people that misrepresent what keto is, telling you to wrap everything in bacon, pour fat on everything, put butter on everything. Yay! And the truth is doing that going to harm you? No. It's not going to harm you. Will it slow down your weight loss? Of course, because anytime you overeat, you're overeating. But is that the definition of keto? No, it's not. So the standard American diet has high fat, high carb, is making us all sick, but taking your carbohydrate down to a healthy level on a keto diet, that's dangerous and is not sustainable. The other piece of the puzzle that I want to talk about that frustrates me is this idea that on a vegetarian diet, we actually stop eating meat and fish. And if you're truly being vegetarian, you're not eating eggs either. Somehow that's okay to just eliminate animal protein. That's a complete macronutrient actually eliminated, right? Because that's animal protein, right? But, I mean, it's not actually, it's more of a food source than a macronutrient. You're taking all animal protein out. That means that you're left with vegetable proteins, which are incomplete for the human body. And even if we do our best to recombine the different vegetables, most people cannot do it well. A. B. The amount of veg now you need to eat to get to the level where you're able to get enough protein to stay in your body means that you're automatically putting your carbohydrate number so high that it's harmful. Somehow this is healthy, whereas keto, where you are still eating veg and eating it to as much as you need to be able to get anything you might think you're going to get out of veg, because you don't need to eat any, but whatever, that's not healthy. Wellness Warrior, on a keto diet, since we don't actually eliminate anything, we're just eating carbohydrate in the amount that would have been natural to us 100, 200 years ago, because we wouldn't have been eating this much veg, because we would have been focusing on eating meat, because we understood back then that that's what was healthy. We weren't trying to... Anyways, I'm not going to go there. That's a tangent that I don't want to jump into. On keto, we don't actually eliminate anything. We just eat less veg. And that's a frustrating statement that just bothers me, because we have so much evidence that points to the fact that excessive amounts of carbohydrates are causing health issues, right? Diabetes, PCOS, heart and vein issues, like plaquing, right? Oh my goodness, Alzheimer's and all the brain issues that we're having, myelin sheaths being destroyed and all kinds of things. We have so many allergies that are plant-based. And even, sometimes I think about the allergies that we have, for example, shellfish and all that, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that the fish live in the ocean that we've polluted, and we're actually reacting to the heavy metals and the toxins in. So there's so many things that frustrate me right now about this. I'm getting a little ranty here, but we're actually learning more recently about oxalates, and that they're found in high levels beyond what's healthy for humans in almost all plants, right? We've known about lectins and toxins and anti-nutrients in plants for years, yet somehow we are still being encouraged to eat them. And there's a question of why. Why would they tell us to eat things that they know are making us sick? Right? But heaven forbid, keto can't be sustainable. No, that's not possible. Violet's crazy thinking that she can do keto for more than, 10, 20, 15 years and get her health back in order. Dr. Westman is more than 20 years keto. Dr. Berry, I think he's past 10 years. Dr. Baker, again, more than 10. I think he's getting close to 15, if not past 15 years. There's so many doctors. Matter of fact, if you look at images of Dr. Berry, Dr. Berg, Dr. Westman, if you look at them, go back in history and look at them, especially Dr. Berry and Dr. Baker, the health that they have today, the muscles that's on them compared to years ago. I mean, even myself, I am stronger today. When I go climbing, it still blows my mind that I'm able to go climbing. I thought I would be slowing down in my climbing as I got older, and I'm not. That's cool. That when I used to go climbing with my daughter in the tree to tree climbing that we were doing, because we've been doing that since she's 4 years old. And I was having a hard time as my weight was rising. And I was really thinking I wouldn't be able to keep doing it. And then the last time that we went, the fact that I climbed easier than ever in my life, Wellness Warrior, eating healthy allows you to put muscle on. It helps you to put muscle on because actually you're eating the right amount of food and you're eating less meals, which means you have more time between meals, which means you actually get to accumulate some human growth hormone so that when you do go and do some stuff, your body can build you. I feel like I'm getting off topic, so let's get back on topic because I'm really frustrated. And maybe that's why this is it's frustrating me because I want us to really do well in life. And it's hard to do well in life when we're doing things based on lies, right? There's another comment I want to talk about, right? It says, this info really blows up the theories of other doctors. They say that fruit and honey are fine if one is already metabolically healthy. But this info would argue against that. So Wellness Warrior, this is going back to the video I put up about fruit recently. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go watch it. Right? And they were obviously talking about the fact that fruit and honey are, by some doctors, being said that it's okay to eat. And some of these doctors are doctors that advocate for keto, but they're saying that fruit and honey are good to eat. Now, I started my journey off with Berg, Berry, Westman, and none of them push honey. So I'm going to start there. Berg, Westman, Berry do say that, a little bit of berries is okay. But I do feel like a little bit and it's part of my meal plan are two very different things. When something's in season, I'm starting here because I just want to say this. I want to say this out loud. When something's in season and I eat it and then it's no longer in season, that would mean that 1 month in a year, I'd be able to have something. That's not the world we live in, right? We live in a world where we have fridge. We live in a world where there are boats and planes and that get things from one part of the world to another, which means that I actually have access to strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, and any other kind of berry that there could be, raspberries, all year round. So now what I would have done for a month, maybe I can do 12 months of the year. So knowing that my liver can only manage a little bit of fructose, knowing that my intestines can only protect my liver from 5 grams, so I can healthily, safely eat 5 grams of fructose, then how much berries would I actually get to eat? How much blueberries or whatever per day? I'm maxing out at 5. But remember, once I've done that, I've maxed myself out. So what happens to the vegetables that I wanted to eat today? Because vegetables have fructose too. I think that we stop letting ourselves understand that our body was built on protein and fat is built, not was, it is built. This is what I'm made of. I'm not made of carbohydrates. I use carbohydrates. My body uses it for energy, but I'm not made of it. Wellness Warrior, I want to point this out because metabolically healthy doesn't mean that I'm bulletproof, right? So if I take in that fructose, I'm metabolically healthy, but is it impacting my liver? Is it impacting my body? Yes. If I drink alcohol, it's the same thing, right? You wouldn't say, oh, you're metabolically healthy. You can drink all the alcohol that you... No, because we know that it's addictive. We know that it's a toxin. We know that it's harmful. Most people do not daily have alcohol. And if you do, question mark, question mark, question mark. Same thing with cigarettes. We wouldn't say, oh, you're metabolically healthy, so have all the cigarettes you want. No, it's a toxin. It's dangerous. It's carcinogenic. We say, no, actually, you shouldn't be smoking. But somehow, when it comes to fructose, and by the way, honey is largely fructose. There's a lot of fructose in there, if I remember correctly. But regardless, it's carb. So even if there was zero fructose in honey, it's carb. Why would you be having that? Why? It's all carb. So this idea that, oh, you're metabolically healthy, you can have a little bit of, well, sure, if you're metabolically healthy, you could do almost anything and not have a negative outcome immediately. Does that mean that the thing that you're doing is not harming you? That's the question that I'm asking you to think about. Because if you actually think about that, you realize that, okay, of course not. That doesn't make any sense. It's not logical. Why? Because it actually isn't logical. All that being metabolically healthy does is allows you to tolerate something better than somebody who isn't metabolically healthy, right? If you're metabolically challenged, things hit you harder. It's like a punch in the face instead of like a little slap. Okay. But does it mean that the slap isn't hurting me? Of course it is. Right? It doesn't stop it from affecting me. Secondly, how are we judging metabolic health? Just the other thing I want us to stop and think about. We are too fast to think that because somebody is thin, they're metabolically healthy. This lulls us into it makes people who are thin believe that they can ignore the things that impact our health, right? It makes you think that you can ignore the toxins because, oh, I'm thin. No, there's other things, right? There's other things. Here's the problem, right? If I'm just looking at my weight, am I checking my waist to height ratio, right? Like we know waist to height ratio is a good way to judge whether you're on a road to heart attack or not, right? I know for myself, even though I am currently at my healthy weight, I'm still trying to see, can I get my stomach to be even flatter? Like I want to have no signs of protrusion because I know that that's a sign that there's still visceral fat possibly. And I'm trying to see, can I figure that? Most people don't know that abdominal fat is the worst fat to carry on the body because it's usually visceral fat, right? It's not subcutaneous. That's fine to have, right? The problem is that we are letting ourselves be lulled into the sense of nothing can go wrong as long as I'm looking a certain way, as long as my weight is a certain place. And I'm begging you to use the information that you have to make better decisions, because weight is only one marker. Do you have energy? Right? That's another marker, right? Your energy level. Are you dragging yourself through the day, or do you have the energy for all the things that you want to do in your day? Right? Do you have mental clarity? Another marker. The fact that they're calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes helps us to understand something. That lack of that stumbling block that we have, where we can't think properly, where we're confused sometimes, where Are we paying attention to that and understanding that if that's happening to us, maybe my health isn't actually where I want it to be? Are you comparing what your health used to look like to what your mental clarity, for example, what it looked like then versus now? The energy levels you had a year ago versus now, 2 years ago versus now. I feel like we are just moving forward in a vacuum and not letting ourselves look back, look forward, compare our me to me, because that's the only true comparison that makes any difference in your life, by the way. Me versus me. Am I doing better today than I was doing yesterday? Because if my health wasn't where I wanted it, am I improving? Have you had your blood work done? Right? Are you checking on yourself to make sure that your markers for anything negative that could be going on in your body are not happening? I feel like we've all known someone who seemed perfectly healthy, running around doing their activities, and next thing you know, they have a heart attack. And obviously, we don't know everyone's full story, right? But the fact that doctors make statements like, as long as you can have these things if you're metabolically healthy, how do you know that you're actually metabolically healthy in this moment? So it puts us in that position where we feel invincible because, I'm at my good weight. It doesn't even matter. I'm sorry. I'm going to make this statement. And I know this is going to be the unpopular statement to make. Even if you are 100% metabolically healthy, why would you smoke? Even if you were 100% metabolically healthy, why would you drink? And if you are 100% metabolically healthy, why would you eat fruit that is unnecessary when you could get whatever you want to get from vegetables? It's just not logical. We're doing it because they're sweet and they taste fun. And vegetables are boring. That's why we're doing it. But here's the big but. If you actually allow yourself to eat vegetables and stop eating sweet GMO fruit, because by the way, almost all fruit are GMO by this point, you'd learn to love vegetables. I know that to be a fact because, first of all, it's happened to me. I hated avocado. Now it's my favorite thing to eat. And I can't stress hated enough. My mother used to make things and put avocado in it, and I would cry. I would cry while I didn't want to eat it. I would cry. Actual tears out of my face because my mother put avocado in something. And I didn't have choice of whether I ate or not, so I had to eat this now. I would cry. Can you imagine that today I love avocado? We need to help ourselves to understand that part of the reason that we continue to chase junk is because we allow ourselves to eat the junk. Now, the other thing I want to point out to you is by the time that we have pain from some kind of internal problem, we've typically gone too far, right? The damage is done. By the time you're feeling internals painful, you are in trouble. Do not wait until you have pain from some kind of toxic junk that you're eating that you never needed to eat in the first place to take action, right? You actually need to take action right now, immediately, right away. Do it now, today. I can't stress that enough. You need to eat properly now. If you wait till you feel it, it's too late. And in order to do that, you're going to need the right mindset to keep the weight off, right? I have a video in the description that goes into detail about being consistent and solving issues of perfectionism, and you should check out. I'm also going to link it at the end of this video.